There are no shortage of new Nintendo Switch titles to talk about today, as we are hot off the heels of a Nintendo Indie World presentation, and this was a solid presentation, and I want to talk about all the games that stuck out to me, which ones I'm going to plan on picking up, some of which are available today, and others which you should have on your radar for the future, and then the larger conversation of, does this mean that we are now past the Indie World presentation, that we can start counting down the days until the heavily rumored September Nintendo Direct? What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below. Hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. As I mentioned, guys, we were talking about Nintendo's Indie World presentation that just wrapped up this morning, and there was a lot of good games that was at this event, and it was very solid overall. And I gotta say, I love this format that Nintendo is giving us, where we know the mainline Nintendo Directs primarily focus on mainline AAA first-party titles, sometimes big third-party AAA titles, but we know that these Indie World showcases, we don't have the highest expectations going into them to begin with. So at least for me, it really lets me enjoy these events as I go into it just with a completely open mind. I'm not expecting to see any crazy huge production titles, and so whenever I do see games that I get really excited about, they stick out to me that much even more. And you know what, this event opened up with something that I was not expecting, and that totally got me hyped, and I will be looking forward to when this game releases, and that is Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, which I don't know why Cyberpunk's in the title. I would think that most developers would want to avoid that name after the fiasco that was Cyberpunk 2077, but that's neither here nor there. This game is a heavy retro throwback to something like a Jet Set Radio, and for me, on the original Xbox, I had Jet Set Radio Future. I didn't play so much of the first one on the Dreamcast, but Jet Set Radio Future was like a crazy fun game to me as a kid, and I would love to see something in this style again, and that's what this game is trying to deliver, as obviously the movements of the characters, the graffiti style, how you traverse the world, the entire overall aesthetic is definitely a tribute to the world of Jet Set Radio, and I'm just super pumped to see something like this come back, as it has been a very long time since we've seen any games even attempt to do anything in this style at all. So I'm ready for it. I will be watching for this one to be released in 2022, as it does not appear it'll be coming out this year, but I'm gonna be super pumped, and I really hope that they have a good soundtrack, because that's gonna be a key part of the vibe of this game. And as it was in Jet Set Radio, is like, it had an awesome soundtrack, it had super entertaining NPCs and side quests and things to go do, and just a really fun sandbox overall open world at the end of it. And I super enjoy Jet Set Radio, so I'm sure that I will enjoy Bomb Rush Cyberpunk when it does come out in 2022. And then the next game up on the list was one called Toem, and this is one that for me is not personally that interesting, but it does seem like it has a very cool art style and aesthetic. And if you're somebody who likes to take, photos of a in-game world and create different kinds of experiences like that, and kind of a slower gameplay overall experience, this might be one that would interest you. But for me, it's one that I'll just quickly kind of skip over, because again, it's not really on my radar. I don't think I'll pick it up, but if you know anything about it that really sticks out to you, please feel free to comment it in the comments down below. And then Loop Hero was a really cool one to me that, I mean, I don't know that I'll pick it up myself, but the art style to this game, and kind of just the idea that you're building dungeons and layouts for these NPCs to get through, and that's kind of the style of the game. I do like to see, more creation style video games, as it's really cool that that's possible now, because it definitely wasn't when I was growing up. Like, I used to use a program called Lunar Magic on my PC to try to create like Super Mario World style levels, as they had the sprites that you could load in there, and that was kind of like Mario Maker before Mario Maker was announced, but you really had to find stuff like that on the internet, and it wasn't just sold easily back in the day. So it's really cool to see more, creation style games, and I do think that this looks cool for a lot of people, especially just the overall aesthetic and the vibe that it gave off. But this one will be one that I'll wait for other people to see if they enjoy it, and one that I may check out in the future. And then the next one on the list is actually one called Far Changing Tides, and this is a sequel, or at least the same studio, from Far Lone Sails. And I have not checked out Far Lone Sails, but this does look like one of those games where the art style and the world that they create is everything, and it seems very story driven, and so it'll be interesting to see if this one does pick up some traction with fans, as it does seem like they're hyping up the fact that this is the next title from the Far Lone Sails studio. So I'd be curious to know if you guys have ever played through Far Lone Sails, and if you thought that that was a great game and one that I should be looking forward to with Far Changing Tides or not. But for me, this trailer didn't do anything to necessarily get me super hyped for this game, but let me know if I should check out the original, and if you're planning on picking up Far Changing Tides when it does release. Then next up, we got an announcement of a director's cut for a game that I had never heard of before, but that is Necro Barista, and it's just a really strange, like, overall story. Apparently, you get to have coffee and one last conversation with people who are either dead or about to die. I don't know exactly what the story is going to look like there, but it's one of those story sim games that just seems like, you know, it's all going to be NPC driven, it's all going to be text driven. So if you're really into something like that, maybe, but this one was just kind of more weird to me. And it's funny that it's getting a director's cut, and I actually kind of hope, like on a side rant, that we don't just see like a ton of games that are re-released as director's cuts going forward, because I know that's very popular in the movie industry right now, and it does seem like it's starting to bleed its way into games. And while certain ones do tend to make sense, like I love Ghost of Tsushima, and I'll probably be checking out the PS5 director's cut version of that game as they're adding in a lot of extra content. When it's like a smaller indie developed title that I'd never heard of before that's getting a director cut, I'm kind of like, okay, what's going on here, guys? But this one didn't do anything to get me excited, but it is a game that will be coming to the Nintendo Switch. And a big one for me on the list, and one that I did not expect at this event, and especially one you should have on your radar if you are a fan of Metroidvania style games, and I know there's quite a few of you out there, as the Metroid videos on the channel, you know, typically get a lot of comments from fans that are long-term Metroid fans and Castlevania fans alike, because those games are similar but different in their own way. We have Axiom Verge 2, and that was surprise shadow drop today, so you can literally go log into your eShop right now and download that game, and I will be doing the same thing today, as I'm looking forward to checking out Axiom Verge 2, as the first one was incredible, and I do think that this will be worth picking up on the Nintendo Switch. And as the combat, the world, and just the overall exploration aspect of this being in the Metroidvania style of games is done very well, and I definitely highly recommend it to anybody else who might be on the fence to at least check it out on the eShop, as I don't think it's priced very high. I haven't looked at the price of it at this time, but if it's at $14.99 or under, it's definitely going to be worth it. Probably even if it's higher than that, it'll be worth it. But I will be playing through this game, and I'm sure I'll share my thoughts on it on a future video. So we didn't get any updates on Hollow Knight Silksong, and that was one that I'm still holding out hope to see some kind of an update. Maybe at a September Nintendo Direct we'll see something like that, as that is a major title that a lot of fans are looking forward to. But we did get another Knight game update, and that is Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon, and this is a puzzle style game but themed with Shovel Knight characters, obviously. And it does look like this one, for me, like I'm not a super huge fan of going through and playing games like this by myself, but it does appear that they have multiplayer baked into this, and that would be something that would probably entice me enough to play this game, as I do have fun playing against friends in puzzle style games like this, where you're essentially competing to get to the bottom the fastest or stay alive, kind of Tetris style, puzzle solving as pieces come down and you have to correctly line up the right colors to survive. And so, the overall theme and aesthetic of this game did look very nice. I was a huge fan of Shovel Knight, and so, I know the NPCs, I know the characters, and I may be, worth picking up this game, especially if you have like a friend to play it with. At least that's where my mindset is on it. But I'd be curious to know if you guys would pick it up and just go through the single player by yourself, or if you're, kind of like me, where you'd rather have somebody to play this game with to really make it worth it to you. Then we had Islanders, which is like a builder sim where you actually can build different buildings on islands and I guess get points for it. Again, one that I'm not like interested in at all in any way, shape, or form, but I do think that this could be appealing to different types of players. And it does look like it's a little bit of a strategy style game, but you're basically earning points for where you put buildings on different islands. I don't know, they didn't dive into like exactly what the gameplay has to offer other than that component, so this one wasn't one that popped out to me, but maybe it did to you, and let me know if it did. The next up was a pretty big one, because it's a game that's already out, but it's Metal Slug Tactics, and that's something that I wasn't expecting to show up on the Switch. And this game does look incredible, as I am a big Metal Slug fan, just from the nostalgia memories of me playing it as a kid. I mean, I do enjoy this game, and obviously this is not a traditional Metal Slug style game, but it is in the tactical side instead, and more of a strategy, real-time strategy style game. And I do look forward to actually checking this out, as I will be picking it up. Just the overall art and presentation and the way that the game looked, and just the obviously seeing the classic Metal Slug characters on there, is going to be enough for me to want to check out this game and see what it has to offer at release. Then we had Tetris Effect Connected, which is another game that is on other platforms right now, and a lot of fans actually do like this game, and I do think this is one of the better styled Tetris games, as it kind of like takes a very zen art style, and it kind of is a relaxing background, but Tetris is still Tetris, and it's very intense, especially whenever you're doing like 4-player multiplayer. There's even modes where you can all compete on the same block chart, even though you have your own at the start. It looks like they merged together at one point. This is another game to me that if you have friends to play through it with, I do think it looks like a very fun experience. And luckily, a big feature that this game has to offer is multi-platform crossplay, which I think we need to see more games do at this point. Like, obviously we have the technology out there to play online with other people on other consoles, and I think that everybody should be doing this. It's a thing of the future that game developers should put into their games, that way, as long as the game is multi-platform, you should be able to play with your friends, whether they're on the PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, the PC, And then if you have a Switch with that version of the game, hop onto that game server and play with them across platform. I think that that's going to do a lot for the online multiplayer in this game, because now you don't have to have a bunch of Switch owners pick this up to actually go have a good experience online with something like Tetris Effect connected. So I thought that was a little cool tidbit in with that, and I will plan on checking this out on the Switch, as it's one of those games that I think would be kind of fun to play on the go, and especially online with friends. Then there was another quick mix-up trailer. Nothing stuck out to me too much here. The very last thing with the gang beast, I think is what it was called, where like you're beating up random characters and one dude throws another dude off like a water tower thing at the end. That one kind of made me chuckle, so I may look into that. But then Eastward was the big show closer for this direct, and it did have a great presentation and great trailer. And I don't know a lot about this game, but it does seem like it's one of those that's going to have a lot of hype behind it, as obviously it was the show closer for the indie world today. And I would love to hear from you guys if you're excited for Eastward when it does drop on the Nintendo Switch. Now, so that wraps up the overall game lineup that we saw at this indie world presentation. And I do think it was solid overall. I mean, there wasn't a ton of games that I was super hyped for, but there was enough good ones in there. Especially, I think the opening game being a throwback to Jet Set Radio, that's still probably my number one on the list, and definitely the one that I'm most hyped for. And then Axiom Verge comes in right behind that, especially considering that it shadow dropped today and I can go play it right after this video. So I'm looking forward to doing that. I was super pumped, overall at the event. And the bigger reason that I'm pumped is just the fact that I do think that Nintendo is following their traditional direct presentation formula again in the year of 2021, as we saw kind of a strange mix up in 2020, but we still saw them hit dates like the September direct presentation. It was just a Mario focused direct only. But if you look at history, guys, I think we're right around the corner from a mainline Nintendo Direct. I think it happens the first or second week of September. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel and make sure you stay tuned, because I do think that we have those things to look forward to. And I cannot wait to see if Nintendo has any big surprises up their sleeves for the rest of 2021, or even just more information on some heavily, awaited titles for 2022, as 2022 is literally quickly stacking up to be potentially maybe one of Nintendo's best years ever. So guys, at this point in the video, I want to know all your thoughts and opinions on everything we talked about today when it comes to the Indie World presentation. Were there any games that you were super hyped for that you're gonna pick up either today or pick up in the future when they do release? So please share all your thoughts on that kind of stuff in the comments down below. And then the big bonus question is, do you think we're now closer to a September Nintendo Direct? And do you believe that we will see this actually officially unveiled from Nintendo, or do you think they're skipping it this year around and we won't see it at all? So please share all those thoughts and opinions with me before you do leave the video today. Thanks so much for watching the video today, everyone. I do truly appreciate you all sticking around until the end. I do at this point in the video want to invite you all one more time to join Sunbro Nation if you haven't done so already. Do so by subscribing below, hit the like button on your way out if you enjoyed it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. That's gonna do it for me, guys. I hope you all have a great day. Sunbro Nation, out.